Hello, hello, hello. I got to put that note down. My little task list. I have to have, some task lists here and there. I'm moving around so much. It's like, where do I write? My keyboard's in the way. All right, let's get my little note for myself. And I had that little idea. Hello, hello. How are you? All right, I got to share out my lives. I wrote my note. I have to address those TikTok intro. Oops, pushing it all over the place. Do, 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 do. So weird. We're just going to go there. Hello, hello. Send it out. Good morning, good morning. I guess it's afternoon. It's totally afternoon. Good morning. Oh my gosh. It's really afternoon. And I kind of forget who I left off with when I was. Yeah. Well, with either right or I wasn't. Just sharing, guys. Give me a second. Hello, hello. Today's a little bit of a different live. I was typically on Thursdays, I talk about Christ consciousness. I talk about living the Christic pathway, about embodiment, about the truth. I have a podcast that I run called The Truth Will Set You Free. And that's what I talk about here. I used to work as a nurse for many years, and then I left nursing, and I now operate my company. I started off working in trauma and mental health, and so I do a lot of work with that, and also with spirituality and awakening. So hello. How are you? Say hi. Morky Mama. Hello. Canadian as well. I am in, which province are you in? I've lived in several. I have family and, people all across the country. And I just recently moved from one province to another. Currently located in Alberta, but originally from Ontario, lived in British Columbia. My son lives in Nova Scotia, so we're pretty much all over Canada. Alrighty, so it's okay. We don't have to share. We don't have to share. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Like I said, normally on Thursdays, I talk about Christ consciousness. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about bridge to light and stabilization and awakening and have a conversation about that. I was looking at what I was going to do recently, with courses or with classes and just, with refining the company and all of that. And I did a course last year called Bridge to Light Phase 1. And it's called Bridge to Light because it's about enlightenment, right? Like the end goal is our end goal is enlightenment. And that has a series of steps. And so Bridge to Light Phase 1, that phase was all about the trauma, the shadow work, all of that stuff. So I created a course. It's 12 sessions. It's self-driven. So you can take it and, you can do it in 6 weeks or you could take 6 months. It's up to you. It is within a group experience, so you do have the opportunity to talk or to get help to, to communicate with other people within the group. So there is that community that is built there as well. I was preparing to launch Bridge to Light Phase 2, which is scheduled for February 22nd, where the first phase, Bridge to Light Phase 1, was all about the trauma and the awakening. It was really getting you to a state of sovereignty. And that's just a space where you are comfortable with who you are. You're able to make decisions from a grounded position, and so on and so forth. When we get to the part of Phase 2, that's about embodiment, and that's really living in integrity and bringing the things that, it's not a truth until it's lived and it's created into the material, right? It can't be just, if it's just a thought, it's just a theory, it's not grounded. So Bridge to Light Phase 1, Bridge to Light Phase 2, and there will be other phases eventually. I decided for February to relaunch Bridge to Light Phase 1 at $111 Canadian. And for some of us, we might look at that $111 and we might go, holy, that's a lot of money. And in this economy, and depending on what you're dealing with, that could seem like a lot of money. It is a course that is $888 because it is 12 sessions. It is meditations and somatic practicing and journaling and so on and so forth. And, it's this huge program that's been created. I heard that too, Kath. Just heard a little noise and my dog did the same thing. Like, what was that? And I'm just hoping it's not a bird. Hi, Carol. So I decided to relaunch it. But I want to do something lighter because I know that there's a lot of people where that $111 is a lot and it's far more than what you can afford. And maybe doing trauma healing and shadow work and, doing all of that right now seems so heavy and too much in this world right now with everything that's going on. So I'm launching a smaller course, and this course is it's just being put together now in its entirety, but it's going to be 5 sessions. It's 5 modules. It'll be self-learned. They're all recordings and you can do it at your own pace. Ideally, it should take you anywhere from 10 to 15 days because you want to do it, one module and then give a day of rest, like to integrate that information and then to the next module. So to give you an example of what's going to be in this course or this class, and it's called Orientation and Stabilization. That's all. It's just a return to center. Okay. Return to center, orientation, and stabilization. It's a 10-day self-paced orientation course designed to help participants settle their nervous system, reconnect to internal reference points, and restore basic coherence without trauma excavation, identity dismantling, or initiation framing. This is just about stabilizing, right? And we're dealing with so many things in the world right now. And if you're unable to manage your emotions, if you're unable to get yourself to a calm space, what you're doing is allowing yourself to be controlled by your emotions. And we are very easily controlled by our emotions. Your children learn at an early age if they can change your tone, right? If I can make you raise your voice, I got you. Because I know I can mess with your emotions. And if I can play with your emotions, I can change your mind. Because I just have to find the right button, right? And in this day and age, we are inundated, right? It's fear, gets you geared all jarred up, or it's this big, huge point here. It's this tragedy here. So it's this tragedy, get you invested in it, get you worked up, and get you fighting with the other side because they're not given the same information. They're not seeing the same things. I talked to my friend about this the other day and I was like, when you're outside of politics, you see both sides, right? Because I don't claim a side. So then I get more balanced stuff on my feed. But when you are somebody who identifies as conservative or Republican, your feed, and everybody's feed is, mine is still geared to me. My algorithm confirms my biases. They'll just keep showing me more stuff that aligns with the things that I like. It's just more of it. So if I'm on the right side of politics, let's put it politics, not the right side of anything, but the right side of politics, then my feed is going to be very conservative minded. And my feed, when something tragic happens, the information is going to be skewed in order to fire me more up in my right-sidedness. If I'm on the left, it's the exact same thing, but the other side. My algorithm is going to be filled with liberal, democratic stuff, right? It's going to align with my views, and I'm going to see all of that stuff. And when some tragedy happens, it's going to inflame me more in the direction that they want us on in that side. The right is giving information about the left where they get to see the worst examples of the left. They will get shown, the transgender identifying individual in a woman's bathroom stall masturbating, because that's what they don't want. They don't want that. And that's why they are opposed to that. So they just get fed more of that. And then the belief system is that the left is filled with that. Right. And then on the other side, you get the left, where they're being fed that they are white supremacist, racist, bigots, retarded. I don't know. They get pretty hick, stupid, attached to that side as well. So they keep getting fed that. So they'll get shown, the really racistly geared stuff, or the really misogynist, or that type of stuff, because that keeps them invested in that side versus that side. So the only thing that you can do in this war for your attention and this war on your emotions is to learn emotional regulation, to learn how to manage your nervous system. And it's what we should have been taught when we were children, right? We should have been taught to feel to be ourselves, to be authentic, to feel safe in your body and in the world around you, how to validate your emotions, and then to soothe yourself. But most of us didn't get that because the people before us didn't know how to do it either. So they couldn't teach us what they didn't know. And a lot of times they just kept pitting us and hurting us and, causing more damage. And when we look at the talk, it's a very traumatic society. It's done on purpose. It's so constructed this way, right? Keep everybody fighting everybody, and then they won't be fighting, or they won't be healing, or they won't be, if they can create another tragedy or another trauma, how much money can they make off of that? Well, what happens if, oh, there's going to be a big storm, and I got to rush out and prepare for that. So you're going to go out and spend a whole bunch of money. Oh, there's this thing coming. Now you need to prepare, and you got to go out and get that stuff. Or this is happening and you need this to protect you from it. And this is happening, and it's all geared. It's all made that way. So the course that I've created with Return to Center is to help you with that, is to help you is to help people who are feeling overwhelmed, scattered, or internally noisy. So if your brain's like that kind of energy, the constant overthinking where you're up, maybe you're waking up several times at night, or you're having a really hard time going to sleep because of, sorry, I was just checking my other stream. So your brain just doesn't shut down. And part of this, the stuff that ends up affecting us with our nervous system can come from our thoughts, and it can come from our emotions. Hi. So if we have within our thoughts, right, if we're sitting there thinking fear, 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 I'm scared, fear, 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 and that's the thought part of it, then our body is going to be feeling anxiety, right? At least anxiety. And we're going to keep pumping that in as much as our brain is going fear, 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 fear. If we start doing breath work, we might take control of the body part, but if our brain's still going fear and we're like, but our brain's going fear, 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 we're not going to get out of that state, because we have to work on both aspects, right? There's the top is the thought and the bottom is the body. So we want the top down and the bottom up. So take control of your thoughts, right? Why are you thinking the things that you're doing, and are they helping you or are they hindering you? Sometimes we get going on that train and it's just like, you know, the Jack in the Box where it's and it just doesn't go. That's how your brain's going. It's like, and you're waiting for it to pop, but it never does, because you just keep going over and over and over and over and over it in your head, right? Pop it. Just be done with it, right? Create a solution, move beyond it, like validate whatever it is that's coming up. So this is also for people who are spiritually aware, but they feel very ungrounded or fatigued. It's also great for those who want clarity or steadiness without deep emotional processing, and for anyone needing a rest before engaging into any deeper work. This course is not for people wanting trauma processing or shadow work. If you want that, that's Bridge to Light Phase 1. It's not for those wanting a rapid transformation or activation. If you did want that, soul alignment sessions, or even astrology, doing full readings where, you know, like I have some pretty large readings that I do that can be very opening, awakening, validating, and healing in the process. And it's not even for those who are looking for cosmology heavy or identity based teachings. This isn't about destroying an ego, nor is this about, you know, finding massive enlightenment. It's a course that is there to help us return to ourselves amidst all the chaos that's going on around us. Okay, so it's 10 days, or like I said, you could take 15. You could do it essentially, you could do it in 5 days if you wanted to, doing one little class per day. So day 1 is about arriving here. It's just the present, right? So it's just about orientation to the present moment. The second module, or day 2, is about establishing safety. So this is about settling your nervous system. Day 3 is about reconnecting to the body. And this is about the body being the reference point. Okay, so this is not about thinking about yourself, but sensing yourself. So getting into the body. On day 4, it's about internal listening. So differentiating noise from signal. And then day 5 is emotional regulation without story. Okay, so it's letting emotions move without analysis. And like I said, it's 10 days. I'm sorry, I forgot originally I was going to do 5 modules, and then I decided to do it over the course of 10 days. So there's 10 days of activities. I change things too much sometimes. Day 6 is clearing daily accumulation. So this is an energetic hygiene. Hi, Michael John. How are you? Love to you, friend. And welcome. So day 6 is about clearing daily accumulation. That's your energetic hygiene. Day 7 is about boundaries and containment. So this is energetic boundaries without defense. Day 8 is about simplifying attention. So reducing internal and external overwhelm. And day 9 is returning to center in daily life, which is applying stability to real situations. And then day 10 is integration and ongoing rhythm. So you can do this as slow or as fast as you want. So you could do it 10 days doing 1 a day, or you could take 20 days to do it. It's up to you. It's self-paced for that purpose. So this is going to be available February 1st. I might get it up earlier than February 1st, but it is the 29th right now. So the likelihood is February 1st. I just have some recording to do. But I decided to pull this from all of the courses that I've done before. And people who haven't watched me, they don't know who I am or anything about me. And you kind of need to learn to trust who I am and what I provide. So I'll give you a little bit of background now, and then we'll get into what today's live is all about. And I actually have to take my sweater off because the sun's coming in here, so it's getting quite warm. We have a nice, beautiful day here in Alberta today. Ah, that's so cute. Sorry. For those on Facebook and YouTube, TikTok, you get gifts, so sometimes it makes you react. So I started off as, I've done a million different things. I've done a million different things. I was talking about this on the other live that I did about how many different jobs I've had, and I didn't even go into all of them, but I've had an enormous amount of different jobs. The most significant or long-term careers that I had, I worked as a computer programmer, systems analyst for many years, I think 5. Then I went from that into nursing, and I nursed for over 20 years. Then I left nursing to start my company, and I was working in mental health and trauma healing. And what I was creating was trauma wellness. It's actually a course that I had created when I was working in an inpatient facility. So I have a background as a registered nurse of over 20 years. I have holistic training. I worked, I've done education in trauma and mental health. I have so many things under my belt. But you still, like, it's not as if you don't know me and have never met me, great. You've got a lot of credentials. Awesome. But just hang around and get to know me and learn to, and build that trust. But my experience is also, oh, look at the butterfly. That is really cute. My experience is, I had an enormous amount of trauma that I lived myself. I didn't heal that. I tried several times to work with therapists at one, like when I was younger, but every therapist that I met, it just didn't really stick. And then when I was, in the middle of my prime, I would have said, I ended up getting very sick and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and went off of work the following year to deal with it because the symptoms that I was experiencing were getting worse and worse. And as I was getting weaker and having more symptoms showing up, I was having a harder time working, and I was also getting more depressed as time went by, and I didn't have a clear plan in place for what to do with my diagnosis. So I took a medical leave from work, and when I took the time off, what happens often when we do that is that if you've been operating in high functioning, which is what I did, I was high functioning CPTSD with anxiety and depression. And a high functioning, it just means that you don't medicate, you just keep going, and you usually are one of those like go, 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 do, do, do. You become very productivity orientated because if you're going and going, you're not stopped long enough for the past or the stuff that is bothering you to catch you. That's why we do it. We're outrunning our trauma. What ended up happening though, when I got sick, is I wasn't running anymore. So then I had to sit and think and feel and experience all those things. And it led to being diagnosed with a panic disorder. It led to, I don't know, I had so many acronyms of diagnoses, but all it was trauma. And so that sent me on my healing journey. And when I came out of that first phase of healing, where I'd done a significant amount of excavation of my past and, validating of the emotions and learning how to soothe myself, becoming obsessed with the present moment and, the other things that I ended up teaching, I realized that you can heal, not just trauma, but a lot of things. I realized that the healthcare system was actually sick care. They want to keep you sick because that keeps you a client and keeps you coming back. And so I left it. I entered into the space of trauma and mental health. I continued educating myself. And now I help with realistically enlightenment. I'm here to help you on your path of enlightenment or your path of ascension, whatever you want to call it. I teach Christ consciousness. I teach the Christic pathway. I teach embodiment. I teach the truth, like divine laws. I teach you to have a harmonious relationship with Mother Gaia, with the plants and the beings and the sky, as is living sky, not traditional astrology or anything like that. I teach actual astrology from true sidereal. So that's how I use that. All right, so I'm going to have a sip of my tea. And we're going to stop talking about all of that stuff, and we're going to start talking about, so just look towards that course. It will be released, like I said, hopefully by February 1st, but if not, by February 1st, if not, maybe sooner, but anyway, here we are. Okay. Today, like I said, we are talking about bridge to light. We're talking about a variety of things, but we're going to talk about bridge to light. So many times when we awaken, it opens our perception, but our body isn't ready to handle that. And what you can hold comfortably depends upon your nervous system's capacity to hold it. So when I was riddled with trauma, I didn't have nervous system capacity to hold a lot because I was already at my bandwidth. And the way that I used to explain this was you have an internal elevator. And we want our elevator at the ground floor. We don't want our elevator in the penthouse. When the elevator is in the ground floor, that means that your nervous system is in rest and digest. You are not in an altered state. And being at the ground floor could also mean that you've done some trauma healing and shadow work and whatnot. Because most times when we haven't done any of that, we have a pretty high elevator just naturally. We think it's at the ground floor because this is our normal, but we're running around very engaged, very heightened energy. So it doesn't take us long to go from here to here and blow our top, right? So when you are calm and you've done all your healing and you're at the ground floor, right? You have that whole space to go before you're going to lose your mind. And that's what ends up happening when we get so reactive through our nervous system and being in fight, flight, or freeze and disassociate. And then there's also flop. And people pleasing is another altered state when we're constantly putting our energy outwardly towards other people without pouring it into ourselves first. That's just an altered state of our nervous system as well. When we are in that altered state, our blood pressure is elevated more often than not. Our pulse is high, like our heart rate's going pumping, because we're in anxiety. Our breath is usually up here. But as a general, many of us don't drop our breath down into our stomach anyway. We keep our breath really up high. And it's, like that whole like sticking your tummy out, like we all tuck our tummy in nice and stand, right? But if you let your stomach just relax, if your stomach is soft, right, then you know that you're not engaged. Your nervous system isn't engaged. If you're producing saliva really well, you know that your nervous system is not engaged. Because that's not happening when you're in fight or flight. You're not thinking about eating at that point or digesting food. You aren't thinking about rest at all. You're thinking about getting a lot of blood to major muscle groups so you can get out or you can fight. Those are the two things. And many of us are spending our time in those states because our boss said, come to our office, or some guy cut us off in traffic, or we saw a post on the internet. And that's all it took. Now we're in fight or flight. And if our elevator was already quite high, then it doesn't take long before we are blowing our top and losing our mind. And that's when we're triggered into our trauma response. And most people don't realize that. When you're triggered into your trauma response, it's going to take you back to where you were the first time you were injured in that specific way. Maybe you were a 2-year-old and what you did to manage then was throw a temper tantrum. So now as a 35-year-old, a 55-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 98-year-old, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your sex or gender identity. None of that matters. If you're triggered in your nervous system in a traumatic way, or triggered in such a way that it's going to brush against that pre-existing trauma and put you back to that age when you become reactionary. So you could be flipping tables. You could be smashing things, right? Maybe as a child, when you got really mad, when you didn't get your way, you broke your toys. So now you're breaking something else, right? As an adult, Pura Vida, hi, spiritually aligned, right? Maybe that's what you're doing instead. So when we're awakening, though, the awakening process is opening your mind, and it's really just remembering the divine truth. It's opening your mind to the show that we're participating in. You know, it's waking up to the matrix or the system, or, you know, the truth that existed long, that's been distorted, right? And most of us know that we're living out of alignment. We are not meant to, like, our sole purpose isn't, what am I going to do for my life? What job am I going to work? How am I going to make money? Like, that's not like, as the divine being that you are. And people are like, oh, you said the word divine. Are you calling yourself a god? No, I'm not. But we are divine. Divine doesn't mean that I'm saying that we are gods. But we are the seed of a God. I like to describe it like the God is, or the source of all creation is like the sun, and we're a ray. We're one of the rays that have shone off that sun. Like, that's us. But we're not the sun. We're not that. That's not us. But that doesn't change the fact that you are still divine, or that, you know, and we're not living in alignment with that divinity, right? We're not meant, like what we're seeing right now, war is not a part of how we're meant to live, right? We're not meant to live in a space where there are people who have wealth to last for generations and generations while others can't afford to feed themselves. We're not meant to live in a world where it is that busy, where it's that hectic, where everything's outside of us. We're not meant to live in a world where there's no connection to people. We're not meant to live in little boxes, looking at little boxes, interacting with little boxes, right? To go walk to work and live and work in another little box. That's not what we're meant to do, right? We're meant to be outside, interacting with nature and with each other, and having community and working together, and realizing that the state of your community can be reflected by looking at the weakest or the lowest members of that community. So we could say that the whole world is failing in that, because the lowest members of communities around the world are homeless, they are impoverished, they are sick, they are weak, they are broke, they are destitute, they are being abused, they are being kidnapped. You know, there's so many things. Like when we look at the very base of societies, right, there's so many bad things at the bottom end of society. So then that's a reflection on the whole thing is not working. It's not working if that's what our citizens are experiencing, right? And we're supposed to be more like that, looking at what is happening with the lowest members of society to help those. But we don't do it in that way, though. Like the political system now is just, we have to step out of that. It's all the same. It's all the same bird. They're all doing the same thing. It's like a friend of mine on Facebook said, Hulk Hogan and Randy the Macho Man Savage had the same owners. And the same can be said for red or blue. They have the same owners. So we're going to talk about, we have to. And the more that we interact with machines and bypass people, the more that we are losing our humanity, the more that we're willing to merge with machines, the more that I got in there. Okay. This is the sidebar. I got to pull this up. I'm going to pull this post up, because this post came on my feed and I was just like, oh my goodness, like that's how bad feminism has gotten. So let me see. I'm just looking for the post. Give me a second. So this is the post that was shared. They want you pregnant because motherhood is the ultimate act of submission from a patriarchal standpoint. Under patriarchy, motherhood is the ultimate humiliation ritual. Yes, I am this woke. You need to wake up too. The squirrel came really close to the thing, and I was just like, what? Motherhood is submission. Motherhood is an ultimate humiliation ritual. What? That's how far feminism is going. That's how far we've deferred from the actual divinity and the truth of what we are, like, or who we are. Like, if we're not here to have, like, to ever procreate, like if procreation, or, you know, being a mother, having children, if that's submissive to the patriarchy, if that is somehow the ultimate humiliation ritual, then what's the point of life at all? Because the point of life should be, to some degree, to create life. If we don't create life, there's no life. Like, I would think that motherhood would be the most beautiful thing that you could be, as well as father. Right? Like, mother and father, they're the most honorable roles that you will ever have, especially if you take it with that type of an energy, right? But I read that and I was like, oh my goodness, how does that even? So I put, wow, how about remembering we are divine, and being able to birth a human into this world is not just a miracle, but something that should be viewed as sacred. We are losing the point as we continue to lose our humanity. And it's the facts of what we're doing. So then, you know, the person, are we human or divine? And I'm like, we're both, actually. And it's like, just like people actually like attacked me in the post, right? Because that's just the way people are. And I just can't believe that. All ultimate humiliation ritual. Yeah, absolutely. So this is just how far we've gotten, right? Right? Like, it just was crazy. So anyway, that's the way that it is. But people, like, they were just fighting, like, and fighting on, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of life if it isn't, in some, at least bit of it, is to have to recreate life? Right? If there's, like, that would have to be like the bare minimum, wouldn't you think? Like, if that the bare minimum purpose of life would be to create more life, it would make sense to me. So anyway, I just found that to be quite interesting post, and how, you know, that's where we're losing it. We're losing our humanity. I had someone, when I was talking about a course that I was about to teach, I had someone reply to me, "Oh, that's an idea. I'll get ChatGPT to teach me that." And I was like, "Are you serious? Like, if we bypass humans altogether, what's the point of humanity? What's the point for humans if we keep bypassing humanity?" Right? We need to be interacting with each other. We need to be learning from real teachers, because I'll tell you, ChatGPT is wrong a lot. And people talk about it all the time. Even ChatGPT has a little thing that says, please check the information, because ChatGPT makes mistakes. So, you know, someone that would say, oh, that's awesome, you're teaching a course on that, I'm going to go ask ChatGPT to teach me it. That is like the most offensive thing. I'm like, and it's my choice to be offended by that. I choose to find that offensive, of course. But anyway, we veered off a little bit. We're supposed to be talking about bridge to light. But we need to be connecting with real humans. We need their intuition, their discernment, and their lived experience and the knowledge that they contain. So we're going to talk about bridge to light kind of stuff and see where else we had from there. Just checking on that. It's being weird. Okay, I need a sip though. Yep, exactly. I think that that little course is going to be really, really awesome. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I do hope that those who it aligns with, and they find it and take it, and it brings them all the good that I know that it will. So when we were talking about ascension, about awakening, and how that comes with fracture. Right. And this is why when they're talking about awakening, we can't give the information super fast, right? Like you have a responsibility to information. And for some of us, like with me, who I feel very awake to the truth of the world and the truth of life, there's things that I know that if I went and explained to somebody who was not awake at all, like was completely closed off and, like, I would fracture their brain, especially if they trusted me and believed everything that I was saying. Like, I mean, that's the other part. They have to be open to receiving that information. But that's the whole thing is when you start to awaken, all that information, it's fracturing you, it's opening you up. And if we do that and we're not careful with our nervous system, that's where the destabilization begins. So spiritual awakening without stabilization overwhelms the nervous system, it fragments identity, and it creates a cycle of intensity followed by collapse. You just get to the point you just can't take it anymore. And many people did that. They go down these rabbit holes and they're like, "Ooh, this information," and they learn more and more and more. And they're like, "Oh my God, another rabbit hole." And next thing you know, they're sitting in a corner and they're like, what are we right? We don't want that. That's why you have to have you have to have the ability to soothe. You have to have the ability to ground. You have to have the ability to hold yourself together. So we can't skip the step of stabilization is the point. So stabilization is not slowing down. It is regulation. And nervous system regulation, I mean, some people may feel like that's a big term or a big sciencey thing, but your nervous system is connected. Your heart can feel what's going on in the field around you, and it picks it up and it sends through nerves signal to your brain to tell you this is happening around you. So your intuition or your heart can pick up the intentions of somebody near you and know that that person is going to embarrass you before they speak. And your brain gets the signal from your heart saying they're about to do something that's going to embarrass me. And so cue the response, the cascade. And your brain goes, okay, flushed cheeks, sweaty palms, increased heart rate, and so on. So our nervous system, that's how it works. Our heart is radiating out about 6 to 9 feet in circumference around you, feeling the field. Now, if we are really, really inundated with trauma or fragmented as individuals because our identity isn't, our identity is all over the place, it's been fractured, then that stabilization takes longer, right, to get to because you're so fractured. Hi, Peter. Nice to see you again. Through the field. We're heart-led beings. That's one of the biggest hijacks that they did with the information, is they told us that the brain runs the show, that the brain's the command, and the brain isn't. Hi. The brain isn't. The brain is actually, it's, how would I explain this if we were to look at it? I'm trying to figure out a way to describe it, like using an analogy, or paralleling it with something like a vehicle, right? So, but it's not coming to me right now, so we're going to pop around and we'll come back to it. So the nervous system stability is part of spiritual practice, as well as part of healing. And nervous system regulation is something that we all should have been taught as children. And if you have children and they haven't been taught nervous system regulation, Jesse Learns to Create Calm Spaces. Okay. It's a great book, teaches kids how to do calm spaces. There's pull-out pages in the back of specific colors. So whatever emotion that they want to pick up, let's say joy is their color, yellow is their color for joy. So they could carry the yellow page in their yellow page with them, and it reminds them what to do to create the calm spaces. There's even a bunch of white ones in case they want to color them themselves in a color that I didn't provide, or just as an activity anyway. All right. So the nervous system is spiritual practice, right? When we're doing regulation or stability, when we're working on that, and also the capacity, right? Because the regulation is part of how we have more capacity. Without it, insight cannot be integrated. We can hear the information, but it's just going to overwhelm us at some point, or terrify us at some point, because we won't be able to stabilize our nervous system or ourself to be able to hold that information. So we'll continue to reject it, or we'll continue to experience like anxiety or collapse. And we're seeing that in society, where people are literally collapsing because their identity is being fragmented so bad. And identity isn't just acquired from, I have the identity of, hi, I'm Tanya, or I have the identity of, I own a company that helps with ascension, or I own a nonprofit. I have more than, I'm a mom, right? The identity can also be gathered from society. So what is my identity of a Canadian? So if I'm living in Canada and I have an identity that a Canadian is this, and what they're doing in the country is not supporting that view, that's going to shatter that identity as well. So in the States right now, we have all of those individuals who wanted the Democrats to win, right? All the ones that wanted the Democrats to win. So when the Republicans win, there's an identity fracture that happens because, oh my God, this person is now running the show, which is completely opposed to how I see myself or how I see that our country should be. So it starts to fracture the identity around that. And that's what we're seeing in society right now, where all of these countries, the identity of the country is fractured. So each individual is being fractured. It isn't. It isn't. People want us to think that, but you have to start from within. You fill your cup, you start with you, but you connected to God. When we do that and we say that I'm selfish, that I is selfish, we bypass the whole, like, it's not about being narcissistic, right? Like, and that's what they want it to make it seem like, because I am, because I put myself first, then I must be wrong, or I must be narcissistic, or that's wrong, right? And it's not about that. I have to be full and whole and heal, right? I have to reflect that in the field and have the field reflect it back to me. The I is only selfish when you do not have any room for anybody else, and it is all about me, right? But you need to start with you first. Yes. And yeah, The kingdom of God is within us. Absolutely. So we explore trauma responses, as barriers to embodiment, and how many paths intentionally reinforce these practices, right? And many paths reinforce that pattern where we go through spirituality, right? Just give me a second. Hello. I love you. What your show's at 3:30? It was funny because it posted from both of them, so it popped up twice. I love you. I love you. It was funny. I love your picture. I love your picture. Your profile picture is so beautiful. Okay. Get my focus back. But I had to. So oftentimes, fight responses will show up as urgency, right? So when we are in our, this is the part I'm like, I really wanted to talk about this part because it's a good way for you to understand how we are in these different nervous system states, but it's not necessarily interpreting in our brains as being as being an altered state. So when I'm in fight mode, I might not be fighting somebody. I might not be like, getting into an argument or a disagreement or flipping tables. Being in fight mode within my nervous system can show up as urgency, intensity. It could also show up as spiritual argument. Those are ways that you'll see fight show up in it. If we show up in flight, right? So if we're in our flight response, that can be constantly seeking things. It can be jumping teaching. So going from this teaching to that teaching to that teaching without completing them or integrating them. Or avoiding the body. So not sitting in and sitting within your body, not checking in on your body, which you should be doing on a regular basis. The freeze response, that could be expressed through numbness, disassociation, or the inability to act. So when you're just like, you feel like you just can't make decision or you can't take action on that, that's you in freeze mode. It's your nervous system's in freeze, and why, right? And just because it's in freeze doesn't mean that you're readily in your mind experiencing a trauma reaction. You could be just having a regular Wednesday, but you've been triggered and now you can't make a decision and move forward on something, and that's just your body in that freeze space. Then you have fawn responses. So that's the people pleasing, right? And this is expressed through overgiving. Hey, how are you? I have to tell you, your art is fantastic. I see it pop up on my feed every now and then. I love the birds that you do. I love sketching birds and doing that myself, but you just fantastic art, Andre. You're welcome. So fawn responses would be like overgiving or people pleasing or collapsing boundaries in the name of love. I need to narrate what's going on. On the other TikTok stream, and she's actually on my Facebook as well, and that's where I see her art, is on Facebook. And yeah. My brain went blank for a second there. But that's okay. It's allowed. It's just a pause to the regular programming. Oh, nice. Very nice. That'll be really, really nice. Playing guitar as well. All right. So we looked at collapsing boundaries in the name of love. So we look at how many spiritual paths unintentionally force these types of response, right? Yes. Never the same, right? And this unintentionally reaffirms these patterns by rewarding intensity over regulation, right? Some teachers, like spiritual teachers out there, are like, yeah, another class, another activation. Yes, yes, because to them it's not about you, it's about the bottom line. Can I make more money? So they'll keep you going and going and going, and they don't care that you're not taking any time to integrate. You're not ingesting, or you're not ingesting the information. You're not living it. It's just more knowledge. And they don't care, because if they can get you to, need them again, you're going to do their services all over again. And it has to be done in that subtle way where you don't realize that they're hooking you to them, or that they're not allowing you the opportunity to integrate, as an example of one way that they do it. Sometimes they give you just like so much information, but they never give you the pathway of integration. They just skip that part altogether, because they know that means it's not going to stick. You just have information. You don't have embodiment. So without that part, that key part, you're going to come back and seek them out again. So you have to be aware of these types of things, and those are going to throw you into your trauma loops, or your nervous system into those states, which can come up in those ways, which may seem more subtle than what you realize. There's also transcendence over embodiment, right? Many teachers teach that we're to transcend the body, that the body's like useless. We're just going to enlighten ourselves until we just leave the whole place, soon become just spirit again. We didn't birth ourselves into the world to be human, to become spiritual on earth, so much so that we do not have a body. This is the material realm. It's the third dimension. It's physical. So you have to embody it. And if we're not integrating, if we're not living it, then it's not a lived truth. It's just information, and you're just collecting more of it. And we can't be doing that. We created this reality by taking action on information and building from it, right? So we built homes and houses and societies and frameworks and ideologies and all of those things. We built them. We participated in making it. Oh, I love that. Beautiful, right? Exactly. To know the question is to know the answer. Right? So see you later. Have a wonderful afternoon. My brain still, it dropped. So we're not meant to do that. It's the same thing when people push ego death, right? They keep telling you that, the whole goal is to kill your ego. It's not. The goal is to not allow your ego to drive the vehicle that you're in, because your ego is always looking in the reverse to drive the car, because it's predicting what happened to be in the past is going to happen again. So it doesn't want to take those chances. And so it says, I'm going to say back. Yes, it is. But sometimes we have to be willing to just tear the entire structures down and build from new, because sometimes the entire structure is built completely out of corruption. Like when you look at the current system, right? And we look at what's going on in the US, which we could look at what's going on in a lot of countries, because there are all kinds of stuff going on. And this is news. This is mainstream news, right? We can look at all of that. But when you look at the Epstein, which is the Epstein files, which is local as news, if the people on the list are the people running the countries and in top positions, where do we ever think that they're going to be held accountable? Who's holding who accountable? If they're all corrupt, do the corrupt hold the corrupt accountable? Do they? I don't. It's questions. It's questions. Purely questions. Curious. But we got all these distractions, so people aren't focused on it anyway. So even the people that would hold them accountable, I heard this wonderful story. I don't know who sent it to me. Actually, it was either my friend Dom or my friend Pete. One of them sent it to me. Exactly. I like that statement. That's such a statement. But if the fish stinks from the head back, the fish stinks from the head back. It most certainly does. Oh my God, I need some water. Got my throat going there. And made me lose what made me forget. Made me forget. Yeah, I don't watch TV. I don't watch, but I am on social media because of my job, and I see lots of stuff. I have a lot of business owners and coaches and healers and spiritual people, and they share all kinds of stuff. And then you just, you get the reels on top, which are showing you everything as well. So we're not meant to kill the ego. We're not meant to transcend out of the body. We're meant to embody into reality what it is that is the truth. So if we're meant to live in communities together, in these smaller communities, we're meant to help each other. There's a whole structure for the way that society should be put together. We have to create that. If we want that type of a system, we have to create those things, right? If the current system is corrupt, we have to create the new system to replace the corrupt one, right? I said this before. If you don't like the current education system, then you have a choice. You either teach your child yourself, find other school opportunities or teaching, other places where you can have your child taught, hire a tutor, or go ahead and create a whole new education system because you think that the whole system is junk, right? Like that's what we do. We have to create it. It's not going to just magic. It's not bewitched. It's not just like, boo, and everything's there. It'd be nice. All right. So Bridge to Light is not a mindset course. And I'm talking about this because I launched Bridge to Light Phase 1 last year. I was getting prepared to launch Bridge to Light Phase 2 January 9th, but I pushed it to February 22nd. And I think a lot of people are uncertain what I mean when I say Bridge to Light. And so it's just literally the bridge to enlightenment. Like we cross the bridge to enlightenment. And there's phases in it. And the first phase, like I said, is about trauma. It's about shadow work. It's about nervous system regulation. And if that's really too heavy for you, then stay tuned, because on February 1st or right around then, I will have a smaller course that will be available. And that's just to help you return to center. And it's just about stabilization and orientation. So Bridge to Light is a foundational pillar, especially like Phase 1. It restores regulation, coherence, and safety. It prepares the system to hold the truth. We walked through 6 modules, but I expanded them so they were 12 sessions because I wanted to have more space and more information and practical stuff, because it's the practical stuff that's important. That's how we integrate, is by doing it. And that's why a lot of times mainstream or traditional therapy doesn't work, because we go in and we talk to a therapist. And I know this because I did therapy, right? I tried it numerous times. The most often we go in and we have a therapist, and we go in and we talk to the therapist, and the therapist listens and writes notes down and maybe gives us some insight. And then after you're done with, they look at they're like, okay, your time's up. I'll see you next. I'll see you, make an appointment on your way out. I'll see you next time, or whatever, right? You've opened up this box or Pandora's box, or a box of worms, whatever you want to call it. You've opened up your trauma, or you've opened up your emotions. You've opened up that space with therapy. And then you're just told to go make another appointment, go home. And you're like, yeah, well, what do I do with all of this? They don't tend to give you breath work, grounding practices, journaling prompts and all this other stuff. Typically you just go in and you talk, and then it's just a conversation. That's not integration. That's not embodiment. That is just this part. And what it does, it's like a tea kettle. When you if you have a pot with the water with the lid on it, right, then the heat can get overwhelming in that pot. You lift the lid, that's what therapy is. It's literally just taking the steam out, and then you're fine for a little bit. You're not fixing anything. And not that I'm discounting therapy, because I think that many people should be in therapy, because it is a wonderful adjunct to other things. But we also need the physical portion of it. It's not just our mind, because our issues were stored in our tissue. Our traumas are in our bodies. It's in our field. Like, it's through either our emotional body or physical body. It's in, it's in that space. So the 12 sessions that I ended up doing, and there's meditations, there's workbooks, there's journals, all kinds of stuff. Like, it really is a jam-packed course, which, like I said, I made a little bit of a miscalculation. But anyway, I decided, and I'm going to stand by it because I already said it on my lives a couple of times, I am re-releasing it for February at $111. It's actually already on the site at $111. So if you want, you can check that out. You can also jump on a call with me if you want, because you want more information about it, like what all is in the course. But literally, this is the most amazing time to jump onto this and take this opportunity while you can, because it will never see $111 again. It just won't. There's that's the price, less than the price of one therapy session. You're getting 12 sessions plus meditations plus everything else that's in there. And it's not just talk therapy. This is somatic practices. It's all of it. So Bridge to Light is currently offered at $111 until the end of February. And again, that's not about pressure or sales or urgency or anything like that. I'm just letting you know, letting you know. So if you've been waiting for that or waiting to do healing, now would be the time to really jump at that. We need to do the work with our nervous system and balance it. I also have an education session that I'm going to be posting. I'm going to record this one. It will be posted on the Sha'Ryah channel and probably on Facebook as well, and on the Temple of Light free group on my website, where you'll be able to see this. And this is about nervous system. Let me see if I can pull up my notes on that clause. Might have been this one. Yeah, no. No, that's not the course. That's not the one. Oh, that's the one with the 10-day course. Like I said, I've got a few things on the go at the same time. So yes. So we're going to do, I did this course and launched it, and it didn't really get a lot of interest at all. So I didn't even run the course because nobody purchased it. So I was like, you know what? Never mind. But I still feel like it's really valuable information. And it's just, it was just timing, and I didn't really promote it very much. And it was only up, like it was up pretty quickly. Like I think I gave it like maybe 10 days from when I created it to the time when it was going to be offered. So it's about when money stalls. So this is for someone that's experienced, they're doing what they think they should be doing, right? They're in alignment with their self, right? They're showing up every day, they putting their content out, or you're just showing up in the way that you're meant to show up. This doesn't have to be for people who are working or creating a company, or it should say that it's not about people who are working in the same area as me or anything, or people that have an online presence. This can be for anybody around money. It's just as when you're doing as you think everything right, but money's still slow. And this is about your nervous system. I still thought I was going to teach something else though. But yeah, anyway, I'm teaching this because then I'm going to do another 3-day series at some point that's going to go into more depth on what this session is all about. So we're just going to talk about things such as abundance versus circulation. So understanding the difference. I'm going to talk about why slowing down can disrupt money temporarily. I'm going to talk about money and the nervous system, how money aligns with the nervous system, or how your nervous system in the state that it is predictive of how you're going to hold money, how much money you can hold, and how quickly you're going to probably let it go. That can also be based in some trauma stuff as well and belief system. And then why trying harder oftentimes makes it worse. So we're going to talk about those things in this free session that I'm going to have on my website. And then on day 3, we're going to do a bigger session. In February, later in February, we'll do a 3-day session, and it's going to be understanding your money patterns, releasing urgency without losing momentum, and rebuilding flow through coherence. So those classes are coming up. There's always classes coming up on Sha'Ryah. They're listed as events typically until they're recorded. And then once they're recorded, they are found under the library. In the shop is where they are. But if you're on the menu, it'll pop down and then it says library and then over from library to the other one. So what did we want to talk about now? What did you feel like? Nothing? I'm kidding. So yeah, check out the Bridge to Light stuff. Next week, we will be on Tuesday covering the living sky as it is. Again, we do that every Tuesday. We follow the living sky. I teach you how to work in harmony with it through what different phases that we're experiencing, or all the different transitions of this in the sky. And this is working with true sidereal and the living sky. So if something like that interests you, check me out on Tuesday, or you can check out the recordings on YouTube or on Facebook, maybe. But definitely on YouTube, you can check out the recordings and see what's all happening with the transitions for the week. Those ones get posted on the Tuesdays. And then on Wednesdays, we're back to talking about the truth, Christ consciousness, Christic pathway, embodiment, I don't know, all things surrounding the divine truth. Some days we'll talk about the divine laws. Maybe that's what we can do an episode on one time. We'll just talk about all the divine laws. If you're looking for some new readings that give you some really powerful insight into you should check out my Christic astrology readings. These are based in true sidereal. So I would need your birth information. If you do not have your time of birth, that's okay. I can still do your chart without the time of birth. It's just that you won't have an ascendant sign. I can't give you your ascendant without the time. There are numerous different readings available. There's also soul alignment session, where that's a one-to-one live session. There is also, I'm just pulling it up because, we'll go through the readings really quickly in case that's something that's interesting you. So we have level 1 reading, which is a soul stream snapshot reading. And this is a full reading of your natal chart, telling you where each of the placements are and how that relates to you and shows up with you. If you want just the PDF, that's fine, but you can also add that you get an audio. And when I do the audio for it, not only do I read through the content of your chart, I also add extras in there. Like I don't know, the last time I did one, I think I was at 30 some minutes in like over 30 minutes of speaking on her chart to add into what she received with the actual written portion. Level 2 is the soul stream reading. So not the snapshot, but an actual soul stream reading. And it's more of a present moment alignment session designed to clarify what is alive now. And this is a live session. So again, I would have some kind of there's a form that you have to fill out to give me some information before we do that, because we can look at how things are right now affecting you or what's coming up for you based on your chart. Level 3 is Christic astrology readings. So we have a soul map and life orientation reading. We have timing and cycle readings, and we have embodiment and purpose readings. So depending on what you're looking for, and that you can explore that more. And then we have the Christic Soul Stream Revelations, and these are advanced readings. These ones, I mean, I give you so much in them. I give you practical things. I give you affirmations. I go through your entire chart into depth. I look at it not just a straight up, your sun is here, your moon is here, your da-da-da-da-da. I look at your triads, and I look at so much stuff. Like, it is such a huge, huge package that I give you with the Soul Stream Revelations. And then you can get a synastry reading as well. And the synastry reading looks at your chart versus the other person's chart. And this could be for friends, it could be family members, it could be your partners in business, it could be your partner in a relationship that you want to check the synastry with. And then, so you could do your soul stream, their soul stream, and a synastry, and that would be the full package. So those are available. And then I also have opened up guardian mentorship spaces. So those are now available as well. And those would be custom built according to what you're looking for and what your needs are. And that's that. Just the birds outside. They're so sweet. All right, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about. I just want to talk about Bridge to Light so you could understand that Bridge to Light is talking about the path to enlightenment, and the phases begin with stabilization, where we're really working on the trauma and the healing and the shadow work and all of that. We're getting to the spot where we are sovereign and balanced and feel safe in our body, and we can handle the truths that are being revealed to us in life, right? Because I mean, what's going on with the with politics, or with all of the countries, and what's going on in everyone's countries and stuff like that. We need to deal with our traumas so that we are not impacted by that stuff as well, which is really powerful for you to do. Bridge to Light Phase 2, which is February 22nd. That one is about embodiment. So this is about living as the truth. And so how do you embody your truth? And I will see you guys on Tuesday, where we will check the living sky, continue seeing what we're advancing through Capricorn season with our major Capricorn stellium, because we have Capricorn in the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and also I gotta get you go. We have a stellium. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Yeah, bye. Sorry, guys. Hey, how are you? I'm all right. I'm just trying to get off my live. I was like, oh, yeah. Bye. I got a phone call. Bye, guys. I'll see you on Tuesday.